Welcome everyone, my name is Jordan Farmer. This is the Uncommon Ground YouTube channel where we are indoctrinating the masses, and today I'm going to be talking about unity and division and Joe Biden and what those principles and what those words and what his words and rhetoric mean in the current political landscape. So Joe Biden's main appeal was twofold. A, his rhetoric would be fundamentally that of a potential unifier and healer of a nation. That was obviously his pitch. He was very straightforward about that being his pitch. And then the second was this sort of belief both in Kamala as a VP and then in the experts behind him, behind Joe Biden, in their ability to get the job done effectively for the people. That was his appeal. We took the deal. We voted him in, and we've gotten half of what we wanted. We're getting the rhetoric, but the substance isn't really there. It was genuinely amazing to me. I had a really crazy moment of deja vu when I was listening to the inaugural address of Joe Biden, because it was just like when Barack Obama was in office, and I was genuinely inspired by what he had to say. It touched me, it spoke to me and where I was at and where I thought we were at as a culture. But it was all very vague and very sort of, platitudes and stuff. Like, it was a lot of just rhetoric. It it felt intentionally vague in a way that fundamentally lacked substance. But I was really inspired. So, like, if the results showed up, and they matched the rhetoric, then I'd be really happy. But as with the Obama administration, and as now with the Biden-Harris administration, the substance sucks, and the rhetoric is, sweet as honey. It's the best. So we're getting the rhetoric. We're getting the rhetoric that we wanted, that we voted in. We're getting the unifying words. But when you're actually not unified in reality, it's just words, and it just makes a lot of people feel good and be more emotionally less triggered than if the other guy was in office. But at the end of the day, rhetoric doesn't change the fundamental reality of where we're at as a country. But anywho, so that was Joe Biden's appeal, and we're getting half of the deal. The experts being able to do the job right in the background. Where Trump's strong suit is in policy, and specifically in foreign policy and domestic economic policy, as well as sort of acknowledging and considering the underlying statistics and effects of policy as opposed to just the names of policy. So just as a quick thing, getting into the Paris Climate Accords doesn't really make sense, because we were still on track to keep in line with our goals for keeping the CO2 emissions down when we weren't in there. But what it involves once we're in there is pouring a bunch of money into other countries, including China, who has a very cozy relationship with Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. Joe Biden took Hunter Biden in the Air Force 2 airplane. So the excuse was that Joe Biden's granddaughter, who is the niece of Hunter Biden, wanted to come on the plane and be there with grandpa, but needed a chaperone. So they just so happened to figure out, and it so happened to work out, that Hunter Biden was taking a business trip to China. So they just did it all on one plane. Obviously, it means nothing that the vice president was on that plane. And Hunter Biden went and got a $1.5 billion private equity deal, which basically means he got $1.5 billion to go buy a bunch of whatever he wants to make money, business investments, housing, properties, all those kinds of things. And then he gets both a fee off of just managing it, and then a fee also from the profits and the revenue that comes from the purchases made with that private equity deal. Obviously, everything's above board with that, and there's no potential conflict of interest going on there. Anywho, the Paris Climate Accord sends billions of dollars overseas to invest in other countries' energy infrastructure. and it's done in a donation capacity. China is intelligent in the sense that they do the same thing pretty much with countries, but they make them go into debt for it, so they actually have to pay it back, so it still feeds the value of the Chinese system fundamentally. We are silly charity cases here in the United States, and we're getting screwed over for it. We have a great heart, but unfortunately, when your heart and your purse get intermixed and scammers and career politicians are involved, problems take place. Anywho, so Joe Biden's fundamental appeal was unity. That's bringing it full circle here to the title of the video. And it's very important to be unified as a country. So we all have an inherent desire to have a seamlessly integrated culture, and that seamlessly integrated culture where we agree on our values and we agree on our customs and we agree on our rhetoric, and we all speak the same language in the, not in the literal sense, but in the words we use more so than the actual language that we use. We all want that. That is strength fundamentally as a culture, when we can stand united together for each other against our foreign adversaries and enemies and rivals, as well as standing for ourselves within the country, which means helping our fellow man and being a good, tight-knit, loving culture to ourselves as well. Loving in the dual sense of comfort, love, where I'm going to take care of you, and love in the sense that I want the best for you, which means pulling your potential out and encouraging productivity, or what I call my special little words I like to use, the creative and productive capacity of human beings, calling that forth into reality and serving our fellow human beings with that. That is the sign, in my opinion, of a strong culture. So unity is very important, but unity for unity's sake lacks any actual values other than survival values. What I mean is that when you stand up for truth, you have to stand up for truth against lies, and you have to create division between the truth and the lies. There's the potential fog of all lies and potential truths, and you have to cut the lines and etch out the truth amongst all those possibilities. That requires, and the left wing, who, you know, right now they're all about unity, 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 because they're now back in charge and in power, which is really sick and pathetic and annoying and condescending. Anyways, the left loves to criticize and divide people and be divisive in their rhetoric. The modern day left absolutely believes in enlightening the opposition through condescension and contempt and judgment. And you cannot actually unify with your fellow man if you don't treat them like your fellow man, and you treat them like dirt bags, which left-wingers love to do. They love to endlessly hate on right-wingers, endlessly hate on Christianity. That's a really big one. Like, all religions must be respected except for Christianity, and all cultures must be respected except for American white culture, and all, name the example, should be respected except for the freaking political enemies of left-wingers. And it works out that way magically, and they just freaking don't pay attention to it. Only because I've been caught up in the vortex of some of these attacks, and I have had my character negatively commented upon by left-wingers mainly, more so than right-wingers. The problem as I see it, is on the left right now. Right-wingers are much more diverse in their opinions, much more open-minded, and much more willing to just find the common ground that they want. Left-wingers want censorship and have Karen culture. So cancel culture is Karen culture, which basically just means I'm going to go talk to the manager so that I don't have to hear your offensive language anymore, because I can't handle it, because I'm a prissy little person who's so weak that hearing anything that offends me or bothers me is beyond my capacity to handle it as a human being. I can't just block people or not follow a YouTube channel or not follow someone's certain posts, or I just can't, if I'm in a news agency, write about the stupid tweets of the president that don't mean anything on a given Tuesday. No, they have to play the game. Anyways, left-wingers are happy to be divisive for what they think is right. So obviously you have to be divisive to stand up for the truth. So that gets us to Trump's fundamental appeal. Trump's fundamental appeal was his rhetoric and was the actions that were expected to be backed up by that. So it mirrors Biden in the exact same way. But the fundamental difference was that the appeals on both of those fronts was divisive appeal, divisive rhetoric to cut against the system, and divisive action to cut against the system. He was an outsider coming in to change things up, to mix up, to disrupt the status quo, to challenge the current system, and to audit the conventions of the establishment. And he did all that. And his rhetoric was divisive fundamentally, but it showed many people the need to fight for the truth and the need to tirelessly fight for the truth. And I will take those lessons to the grave with me, because I think that is important. The left-wingers know and are unapologetic about fighting for their beliefs. Right-wingers are socially outcast and are very ashamed of their views, and it's because of the way left-wingers and much of culture treats them, with contempt and condescension and a complete lack of respect and lack of humanity, really, because if you don't show someone that essential dignity in a real way, not just in your rhetoric, like, it doesn't matter if Joe Biden's being nice if my friends around me are being absolute asses on social media to my family, to me, to the religion that I grew under and one of to Christianity and so many different people, anyone of any religion, but it just so happens to be that particular religion. I'm harping on that a bit just because it's so hypocritical. It eats me up to have to just sit and let those posts go by, because I don't want to be that aggressive or that mean. I don't know. Anyways, I don't want to be that divisive. It's not my strong suit necessarily. Oh, maybe it is. I don't know. I'll make it my strong suit. We'll see. Anyways, the point is, Trump's fundamental appeal was divisiveness, because sometimes when the prevailing view or a certain giant segment of the population has absolutely stupid, crazy, ridiculous, bat-ass ideas, or just wrong ideas that are dangerous, it is extremely important and almost mandatory and incumbent upon us to never ever give up and to tirelessly engage in the fight for truth against all of the lies and the partial truths that are pervasive and almost compose the majority of politics. It is incumbent upon us. It is mandated. It is called forth by the most essential bits of being a human being, that we must stand for truth for our own sanity's sake. If we start ignoring truth and we start deviating from truth, then we end up in a position where we're disconnected from truth and the world doesn't make sense to us, and that nonsense is not good for our health, mental health. So truth really matters in that fundamental way, and so being divisive is important, and it plays its role. So we have to, as with many things, balance unity and divisiveness and know how to play at both, because I think they both have uses and they both have dangers. They can make too much divisiveness and constant just attacking and belittling of the opposition. That does not make a country stronger. That does not, like, endless division and mindless unity. Neither of those things are fundamentally sustainable options. You have to unify as a country and unify around the truth. And that's the only way that we're going to be able to make it. That's the only way that we're going to be able to not be like the Roman Empire and not be like the previous empires, and actually be the empire that ended empires in humanity and was the empire that gave freedom to all individuals, and was the empire that left the noble king's legacy in human history and takes us to the next level. We're on the brink of interstellar, interplanetary human civilization. and we better get our crap together before we start doing that, because if we have World War Z and it's literally the war of worlds and it's Earth versus Mars, because, you know, that's how it worked out. That's ridiculous and crazy and insane and dangerous, and we don't want that future, and it's unnecessary. We just have to all get on the same fundamentally humanitarian page, which is an outgrowth of Western values and Western civilization. So we should be unapologetically proud to be American, to be of Western civilization, to have cultural ties to Europe and cultural ties to Eastern Europe as well, and some of the Middle East. And all cultures. The point of freedom, the point of a free society, is to be able to absorb and integrate any ideas that are good. And the truth is, like, I've already complimented, I think, in this video, the Chinese. Like, they are not stupid entirely. Like, their system works in certain ways. So if we can leverage in a healthy humanitarian values-based way some of those lessons, I'm all for it. And if we can end the anti-human behavior of China, I'm all for that too. It's extremely important. It's on the agenda, and it's, you know, it's one of the main reasons why I voted for Trump over Biden, because Biden is going to let them get away with all the crap that they want to. I mean, he's leaving tariffs on, which is nice, but do you think any consequences for Uyghur Muslims is going to come down the pike? Or do you think any consequences for any of the other, you know, malign behaviors of China, their support of North Korea, which I understand has waned and has been a little bit unstable, but we also don't necessarily, the intelligence agencies haven't given us a full readout on the relationship between China and North Korea, as far as I've been able to gather. And so I would imagine that there's stuff going on behind the scenes in that whole sense that we don't know about. So that's important to know. I'm rambling a little bit, but the point of this video is that unity and division are both equally important, and they can be useful and dangerous, and so we must tread the line around truth that unifies those two things to the best ends possible for humanity, and for Americans, and for you as an individual, and everything in between. I'm really excited to be putting a video up again. I hope you have a wonderful day. Let's keep on leveling up our political understanding and get it done. Peace.